What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Corey and welcome back to part 2 of our 1973 Suzuki TS250 barn find build. So in the first video, if you guys watched, we actually pulled this guy out. We got it running after 25 to 30 years of sitting in a barn, and we were able to hear it fire up and run for the first time. So this is going to be our next part of the series where we dig into this machine a little bit, we get a few items fixed up, and hopefully we can ride this thing for the first time at the end of this video. So if that's something you guys are interested in, stay tuned to the end, and hopefully we will take this on its first ride. So jumping right into the video, guys, if you remember from the first video, we actually found this bike without the rear wheel on it. It was laid on the ground, the rear wheel was just kind of set up against a workbench, and it had been sitting on the ground for the whole 25 years that it had been left there. So what I did, I had to source a bunch of parts off of eBay because it's actually pretty difficult to find parts for this, and I got all the components that we needed to get this rear wheel put on. That way it could be a little bit more mobile, a little easier to work on. And we got everything put on off the camera. That way you guys could get a good glimpse of what it looks like. So we have a rear wheel, we're able to move it around, and it makes it a lot better on me moving around in the garage. So a couple things we want to work on in this video. First thing, we're going to want to take a look at this oil injection system. We were able to confirm in the first video if it was working, so that's definitely something we're going to look at. Another thing is we never hooked a battery up to this thing, so we have no idea if it gets power. I went ahead and over here we bought some parts for it. I bought a brand new battery to throw on there. I went ahead, it didn't have an air filter in it, so I bought a random air filter online that I thought would fit it, and I threw the cage in there, and it ends up working out pretty good. So it's not a original air filter, unfortunately, but hopefully it'll do the job. Another thing, we noticed that this exhaust pipe was leaking oil. It had some cracks and things of that nature, and it looks like it's leaking around the gasket here. So after inspecting it some more, it looks like this bolt here was missing. So I went ahead and bought a brand new OEM bolt. We're going to pull this exhaust off. I've got a buddy. He's going to try to weld some of these holes in the pipe to make it a little bit more solid for us to start up the next time. And then finally, if we have enough time, in the first video we looked inside this gas tank. It was very rusty inside, and I got a couple ideas from different people of saying how we could clean it. So if we have enough time in this video, we may get it cleaned. If not, we'll put that in episode 3. But overall, we've got a lot of work to do. So let's go ahead and hop into the video, and we'll start with removing that exhaust pipe. Hopefully everything's not too loud for you guys. It's extremely windy today. I've got a mic on to hopefully help with some of the wind. So if the audio is not the best, I'm sorry about that. But we've got to remove this spring here, and then there's a bolt here on the bottom, and then we've got a couple other bolts holding the pipe on the other side. So let's get these removed first, and then we'll pull off the side bolts. All right, guys, let's see what comes out of here. Look at all that oil pouring out of here. I hear acorns too. I don't know. Sound like they're stuck in this top portion. I want to get all this oil out first. Let me grab a rag. Oh gosh. They're still coming out. So take a look in here. Look at all those acorns. And that's not even counting the ones that were already in it. I mean, it's pretty bad. That thing was packed full. Had some leaves, oil. So we definitely needed to empty that thing out. So we're gonna clean this exhaust up a little bit. I'm gonna take it to my buddy. Ironically, his name is Corey too. He welds and stuff, so he's gonna get this cleaned up and welded the best of his ability before we put it back on. So the next time you see it, we'll get it back from him and we'll have it put back on the bike. But moving on to the next thing, I want to check and see if this thing has power. We have a new battery, so let's throw that on and see if we can test that out next. So here we go. We got our new battery that we purchased off of eBay. We're going to slide it into the little battery holder spot here. And black here. And the red looks like it's missing a connection, so I'm just gonna use a jump wire here to connect the two for the time being. This will at least give us an idea if it's got power or not. All right, let's look up here at the top and see what we got. So our key is off. Let's turn it on to lights. And it doesn't look like we're getting anything on the dash here. Let's see if our headlights work. Not getting anything on the headlight either. Let's see if anything works. We don't have turn signals, so we can't test that. Well, that's our horn. It doesn't work, but you can hear it trying to work. That horn must be old and just worn out. But at least we've got power. Let me pull this tank off and see if I can trace some of these wires to see why we're not getting power up here to the dash and headlight. All right, guys, so I got a little bit of an update for you guys. So I was trying to troubleshoot the wiring on this, and we hooked up our battery and we weren't getting a neutral light or anything. So what I did is I made sure that we had power going up to the neutral light, which is an orange wire. Tested that with a multimeter and we're getting 6 volts to the orange wire. Then I was like, okay, well, maybe we've got a bad neutral safety switch, which is actually here behind this cover. So what I did, I pulled this blue wire, which is for our neutral safety switch, and I tested that with the battery, and it had 6 volts going to it when it was a neutral. I put it in the gear and it went down to 0. So that's telling me that our neutral safety switch is working. So I was like, you know, why am I not getting any power? I'm not getting headlight, not getting any dash lights. Well, come to find out, I haven't quite figured out how to get into this headlight here, but just from looking at the inside here, it looks like that bulb is burnt out. And then upon further inspection, I removed the cluster up top here, and it looks like somebody's been in here before, because I removed 3 bulbs and there's 4 places for bulbs. So one was completely missing, and the neutral switch light was actually in the spot of just where the dash is backlit. So it wasn't even in the correct position. And upon further inspection, every single one of these bulbs is completely burnt out. So I don't have another bulb. I have no way to see if these lights work other than to test the wiring, and it looks like everything's getting power. So I'm going to try to order up some of these bulbs and try to get another headlight bulb as well and figure out how to get inside there, switch that one out. So I think our wiring is actually good. We just need to get new bulbs and get everything put in its correct spot in the actual cluster. So while I wait on those bulbs to come in, let's go ahead and hop on over. We're going to install our air filter that we talked about earlier. We're going to go ahead and get that set up. And then we also need to connect our carb to the air box itself. So let's go ahead and get that set up. And then hopefully in a few days, we'll have the bulbs that we need and test everything again for power. And then once we do that, I think we'll be ready to fire this thing up again for a second time. And then we need to go ahead and test out this oil injection. We're going to crack these lines, make sure it's bled out, make sure oil's pumping through there. And then hopefully we'll be ready to ride this thing for the first time. We don't know if our clutch works, so hopefully that's not seized up, and we'll be able to hop on this thing and take it down the road. So let's go ahead and put these few parts on, and then I'll see you guys in a couple days. All right, guys, we got our filter oiled up here. I don't know if you guys can see it on my gloves, but we got it oiled up. We're gonna try to fit this down in here. Hopefully it fits. Put our cap on, and then we're gonna connect our air box to the carb down there. All right, so it's definitely not a perfect fit, but it does the job. It's compressed in there nice. There won't be any debris getting in there, so that's, you know, that's our goal. Gotta throw this in here now. Like that. All right. All right, guys, it was a bit of a struggle. Finally got it hooked up there with the air box. So when we come back, hopefully we will have our bulbs already installed. If not, we're still gonna go ahead and test our oil injection. We're gonna fire this thing up again. We'll see if it runs. It's been sitting this entire time since we made the last video about 2 months ago. So hopefully it'll run, and we will test that oil injection and then hopefully take it for the first ride. So stay tuned, guys. All right, welcome back. So it's actually been a few days. We finally got our exhaust back from my buddy after he welded everything. We got that installed. We got our new bulbs. We got those in and got those installed. So now we are getting ready to fire the bike up again and check that oil injection. Before we do that, I just wanted to thank you guys for the part 1 of this video. You guys really turned up for me, and you guys seem very interested in these videos. And we got almost over 1,000 likes on that one video alone, and that's the most on this channel so far. So I do really appreciate the support from you guys. And if you do like this content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe this video as well, and we'll definitely do some more of that in the future. Also, another creator and I have been in contact with each other, and we're thinking about doing a collaboration. If you look below, there's another channel. His name is Jesse Peterson, and him and I do very similar content. He's got some funny stuff out there, so definitely check him out. And if that's something you guys will be interested, let us know in the comments below. And with that being said, let's go ahead and fire this bike up. So here she is, guys. We haven't fully got this thing cleaned up like I would like, but with everything pretty much done, I think it looks pretty sharp. I wish this front plastic wasn't broken, but besides that, I mean, everything is pretty much complete. It's looking a whole lot better than we started for sure. And this is the pipe that we got back from my buddy. If you remember, down here it was cracked, and he got it welded up and painted, and I think it looks great. You can't even really tell that any work was done to it. And originally this chrome was all dirty. I took a little bit of steel wool and polished this up, and I think it looks a lot better. It did originally look like this. And here's another example. I polished this already, and it originally looked like this. So that steel wool is definitely doing a good job, and I'm gonna do that after this video so you guys can see it in part 3, what the finished product looks like. But also, like I said, we got new lights for this. I didn't get a headlight because this is actually a sealed light, and to buy a new one of these, it's like $200. So these are really hard to come by, so I just left it as is. It's not really that big of a deal. But if we turn our key on here, as you can tell, we have our neutral light now, and we also got a brake light. Our brakes are working, which is nice. Overall, I think this bike is ready to fire up. We need to test this oil injection system, and if everything's good there, we're gonna take this thing down the road and see how she runs. So let's check that oil injection. All right, moment of truth. Will this thing fire up after sitting for 2 months since we previously worked on this? I've got a lot of faith in it, so let's see how many kicks that it takes. All right. We've got our fuel on, we've got our key on, and we're ready to kick this guy over. All right, let's try that again. Apparently there wasn't enough fuel in the auxiliary tank, so it's getting fuel now, so we should be good to go. So if you look at our oil line here, it appears to be pumping the oil through properly. So that's a good sign. I let it run for a little bit, and everything seems to be functioning properly. So we're gonna get this thing buttoned back up, put this cover on here, and since we know we have oil flow now, I'm gonna swap this out with regular gas, and we're gonna take this thing up and down the road here. So let me do that real quick, and then we're gonna hop on this thing and ride it for the first time. I'm pretty excited about this. Let's see how it goes. Seems to be running well. Let's see if this thing will go in gear. Well, it actually decided it wanted to go into gear. I thought it was going to be stuck for sure, but let me set up the tripod here. That way you guys can see me going up and down the road so we can ride it. All right, well, she does run and ride now. Took her up and down the street. When I come back up the hill and turned around, she did die on me. So I think we gotta play with that carb a little bit with the fuel getting to the carb. But she sounds good, she rides good. You know, I'm pretty excited about this. And for part 3, what I think we're gonna do is we're actually gonna take this bike, we're gonna ride it through town, and we're gonna go take it back over to Randy's house, the guy that gave us this bike, and we're gonna show it to him. So if that's something you guys are interested in, make sure to like this video. If we get enough likes, then I will illegally drive this through town with somebody following me in case, you know, something goes wrong. But we're gonna ride this over to his house and let him take a look at it. So I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.